Welcome to Business Innovators Radio, featuring industry influencers and trendsetters sharing proven strategies to help you build a better life right now.
Hi, everyone. This is Tammy Patzer, and I'm really excited because today's guest is Patty Farmer. Let me tell you a little bit about Patty before we get into our conversation. Patty Farmer is an award-winning marketing and media strategist, coach, and business consultant, international speaker, podcast host, magazine publisher, and event producer who is located in Dallas, Texas. Patty works with service-based entrepreneurs, small business owners, coaches, and speakers to identify their zone of genius, their target buyers, gain massive visibility, and to package their knowledge into products and services while positioning them in the marketplace to maximize sales. So that's just a little bit about Patty so that you know that we are truly speaking with an expert. And listen to this. She's also created a network of more than 100,000 connections while she's taught thousands of entrepreneurs to connect, collaborate, and convert in less time and to make more money while they're designing the lifestyle they want to live. So I just wanted to give you a little taste of Patty Farmer, but I want to get right into our conversation. So before we do that, just welcome, Patty.
Thank you so much for having me. I've been really excited about this, and I always love doing things with you, no matter what it is. So,
well, thanks. It is really exciting because here we are. We're closing out 2020 and headed into a brand new year with 2021. And for me personally, it's been this year of, I guess, foundations. But I wanted to ask you, because I know you're an award-winning speaker, and right now, what do you think is the most important topic that your audiences should be focused on?
Well, I really think that the thing that they need to be focusing on right now and moving into next year is really what is the best way that they can master their marketing, not just be good at it, not just put themselves out there, but how can they really master it? And then even more importantly is once they do that, they really need to know how to leverage the media, and they can do that from both sides of the mic. They don't have to be a podcast host, or they don't always have to be a speaker. You can do it from both sides of the mic, but it is really important to be able to master that marketing and leverage the media if you want to monetize your business.
I agree 100% because sometimes people think they have to do it one way or the other, maybe have a podcast or just be a podcast guest or do marketing in a certain way. Now, I wanted to ask you a little bit more about you on a personal level. Can you tell me a little bit more about your journey on the way to become Patty Farmer? What were some of the circumstances surrounding you the day that you said, I'm going to become a speaker?
Actually, I love telling the story because it really even helps me to go back and look and see, right? It's always good to look back and see where we were because we don't always start where we are right now, even though people look at us and think that we do, right? And so for me, in 2008, I moved to Dallas, and Dallas is a metroplex, right? And I didn't know anybody, not one person. And that day, as I was waiting for my furniture to be delivered, I thought to myself, oh my goodness, here I am in a new town and I don't know anyone. And after I had a little bit of a pity party, I stood up and I thought, Patty, this is an opportunity. You're in a town that you don't know anyone. And I'm in the people business, right? And so I walked over to my refrigerator. I wrote 100,000 on my refrigerator. And when my husband got home, he said, "What is that?" And I said, "I made a goal today that in 1 year, I will meet 100,000 business owners and entrepreneurs here in DFW, and I'm going to make $100,000 doing it." And my husband's like, "I love that goal." I did it in 9 months. But the bigger thing is to really, how did I become a speaker? Because at that time, I didn't really want to. And of probably all the questions you may ask me, I think this one is probably the most pivotal, because I didn't really want to become a speaker. I just really didn't. But somebody asked me to do it. They said, "Patty, will you come and do this? Somebody stepped out and I need you to help me." And I did. And here's what's really funny, because when I was there, as she picked me up from the airport, she said, "Oh, Patty, by the way, I know you were only going to speak for 30 minutes, but somebody else got sick and I need you to speak for an hour." My very first time speaking. I was like, "What?" And then she said, "Oh, and we're going to video it." And I was like, "You've got to be kidding me." And then she said, "Oh, and not only that, Patty, but you kind of, when you're up there, it's okay for you to invite them into a program or something that you have." And I was like, "You have got to be kidding me." I was so sick to my stomach. I didn't know what I was going to do. And literally what happened that day was pivotal to changing my life and my business. Because what ended up happening is, first, when I got there, I literally went to the restroom and was violently ill. And as a matter of fact, Tammy, I was sick for 18 months every single time before I got on the stage. 18 months. But here's what happened. That was so pivotal in how I did my business that after I spoke there, I went home and told my husband I had decided I was going to be a speaker, and I was going to say yes to every opportunity that somebody asked me to speak, if it was to my ideal audience. And what ended up happening was 2 days later, I was asked if I would get on a plane and go to London and actually speak on a topic on how to use LinkedIn for lead generation, of which I didn't even have a speech. I literally wrote the speech on the airplane when I got there, closed 6 figures from that, and got myself booked 3 times in the global space. All 3 of them were international, and I became an international speaker the second time I spoke, and it changed my business forever.
I'll say that would change your business forever. Mm-hmm. And what's beautiful about that, Patty, is that you set this very huge goal, it would seem to me at the time, 100,000 people in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and then the $100,000 mark. But the international speaking, and just to say yes, you know, right, what I heard was yes, yes, yes. Even though you didn't have anything prepared, you still said yes, and you moved forward. So I think that's very inspirational for our listeners. So do you have any big lessons to share, or maybe even some of the mistakes that you've made along the way? Is your success something that you imagined, or is it beyond what you ever imagined?
Well, I would say that we all do make some mistakes, right? I think one of the biggest lessons I really learned was that it's not that you don't already have the information. You're not trying to, come up with a new flavor of ice cream, right? You're not trying to reinvent it. It's just your flavor. And I think the biggest aha moment I had, and especially as a speaker, was realizing that it isn't even about me. It is actually always about them. It's not me trying to be this eloquent speaker wearing a soap opera dress. It was really about speaking to people who needed to hear it the way I said it, and taking my eyes off of me and realizing that I serve them. So that was probably my biggest aha. Probably the thing that happened from that is totally, I would have never guessed, because that was only 10 years ago. And if somebody would have told me 10 years ago when I was in the bathroom being sick, that 10 years later, not only would I be an international speaker, but 85% of my clients would be people who are speakers that I would be helping them monetize their speaking, I would have never believed that. So you never know. So I say it always starts with yes. and then making sure that you're saying yes to opportunities and to people that are always in front of your right fit clients and strategic partners.
I think that what you're saying that I think is really important to point out is that you say yes when you're able to get in front of your ideal clients or customers or strategic partners, because think about it, if you're in the front of the wrong people, then what's the point of being there if you're not talking to the right people? So do you have any mentors or role models that have inspired you?
I always like to say that, there's a cliche that says it takes a village to raise a child. I believe if it takes a village to raise a child, it takes a tribe to build a business. We never get there by ourselves, right? We always have people. And I always believe with all my heart that you can't ask somebody else to invest in you if you're not willing to invest in you. So I would say that the three people who changed my life are Jane Duber. I don't know if you know her. She is phenomenal. Ava Diamond is a speaking coach, and she literally helped me so much. And then Shelley Rice was someone that literally every single time I have an idea, she is like my brainstorm partner. And those three people have been key for me.
I think that's really important to point out that it takes a tribe to create something, because so often, especially now, we're behind our computers and maybe, it doesn't seem like there's anybody out there, but I like the idea that you have that brainstorming partner, somebody to say, yeah, you're on the right track, or maybe you're not on the right track. So I know that one thing about you that I've always admired is that you're this connector. You're a big networker. Do you have any tips that you can give our audience about networking, both in person and now especially online?
Oh, absolutely. This is one of my favorite subjects. So the first thing is something not to do. It always starts with what not to do. So I'm going to say, pitch the what do you do question. I think there are so many better questions you can ask someone rather than what you do. I mean, like the first thing that comes to mind is, why not ask somebody who they serve? It's a much better question, right? What's the value you bring to the marketplace? What do you do differently than other people who do what you do? Those are just better questions. And if you ask better questions, and I think that the other thing is, I think old school networking was that, the magic happens when you go have coffee, right? That's always been the thing that everyone has heard. I don't believe that at all, because I'm sure you and your audience would probably say that how many times, whether virtually or in person, you have ever gone and met somebody for coffee and then walked out of there and thought to myself, oh my goodness, that's 90 minutes of my life I'll never get back, right? Because you didn't qualify them. There wasn't a reason for you to get together. So I think networking with intention is pivotal. You only have so much time. What's the reason? So ask better questions and then decide whether or not it makes sense to move forward and get together.
I really like that. You remind me, the other day I actually met somebody and I left that and it was gone out of my mind. And I don't know why, I guess maybe I didn't connect. And again, like you said, sometimes we do, it's like, 90 minutes that you'll never get back, from your life, or the great one, they want to pick your brain. And if anybody says that to me now, I run from the pick your brain, people. So, relationships, especially nowadays, again, networking is one thing, but networking and relationships, I think, are not necessarily the same thing. But when we form these relationships with people, we all have the good cliche, people buy from people they know, like, and trust. And so we know that that's true. So can you talk a little bit more about how would you create real solid relationships that not only lead to better customers, but just to have better relationships in general with people that you are doing business with both online and offline?
I think that this is where, especially right now, because I truly believe that relationships are the currency in today's business environment, for sure. And probably the thing I've been quoted the most for saying is that the only difference between a contact and a contract is the R, and that R stands for relationships, right? Every person you meet, the only difference really is building a relationship. And one of the things that I think is really crazy in today's environment is that people think that they're going to go from the person to person. I got to pass my business card. I need to have this call. I need to meet this person. But the reality really is it isn't about casting a wide net. It's really about going deeper and building those relationships and knowing who do they serve. How can you go deeper with them and really build a relationship with them and serve them in a way so that you're top of mind when they know someone that may be a good person for you? Because the reality is that you make money in two ways. One, revenue, but you also make money in opportunities. And that's what I call op. And so people talk all the time about different ops. Op for me means other people's people. And you really do have to have a relationship with someone before they're willing to put you in front of their clients, their Facebook group, like some type of organization they belong to. That doesn't happen because somebody does an introduction. That happens because you've built a relationship with them.
I like that because most of us, we've heard OPM, other people's money or other people's media, or now we have op, other people's people. I like that. I learned something new today, Patty.
Awesome.
Speaking of other people's people, social media, and I always kind of chuckle when I think about social media, because I remember back in the day, I used to do videos and I'd be standing there saying, Facebook is not a fad. It's real, and you need to be on social media and create these relationships with people. So I wanted to ask you, and you mentioned LinkedIn earlier, that you actually did an international speech about LinkedIn. Do you have any, I want to say special social media or favorite social media, and how
I do.
Would you do it or use it without it becoming like your life, all time consuming?
I love this question, Tammy. So I'm going to say that my absolute favorite social media platform is Twitter. Hands down. And the reason why is because I close 78% of my business, and it originates on Twitter. Doesn't always stay on Twitter, but it originates on Twitter. 78% of my closed sales. That's amazing, right? I love Twitter. I could give so many workshops and classes on Twitter. I love it. And then I love LinkedIn. So here's the thing I'm going to say as a tip, though. Here's what people do. They tend to want to spend time on the one that they love, the one that's familiar to them. Oh, I love Facebook, right? So they spend their time on Facebook, but their ideal clients and strategic partners might be on LinkedIn. So if I had $1 for every time somebody said to me, Patty, what's the best social media platform? The best social media platform is the one where your ideal clients and strategic partners are. And I actually have a tip for everybody. And this is pretty much my solid tip. And I'm just going to, if they just don't listen to anything else I say today, this right here will make a business change for them. So picture your business card in your mind. So visualize it. And this is what I do. So your business card has 4 corners. So for me, it might not be the same for you. My 4 corners look like this. The top right corner is Twitter. The bottom right corner is LinkedIn. Then it's Instagram. And then it's Pinterest for me. Everybody's on Facebook, right? And here's what happens. So when I meet someone, and now we're in person and we're networking and we get to the point where now we're going to exchange business cards. Here's what I always say. It's the last question I ask every single time. I say, where do you hang out? What social media platform is your favorite? And whatever they tell me, once we're separated and we're moving on, I bend their business card on the corner where they told me they hang out. And when I come home, I don't need to connect with them on 5 social media platforms. All I need to do is go connect with them on the one platform where they just told me they hang out. So picture a whole stack of business cards if you had them because you went to an event. If the only call to action you had to do was connect with them on one place and you could just look at the card, how much easier would that be? You don't have to be everywhere. You just need to be where those ideal people are.
Right there, that's gold. And it's interesting because you said 78% of your interactions have started on Twitter. And then that's a pretty phenomenal high rate of connections right there. And you're right. You said one thing that I think a lot of people miss. It's not about where you like to hang out. It's where your ideal clients like to hang out. And I like that, the idea of just being able to bend the card to the one that you think is right. And you mentioned Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, and
Pinterest.
And
it might be different for other people, right? It's really your legend, right? But for me, those are the 4 places that I get the most amount of business. So that's where my corners are.
Very interesting. That's a really good tip too. A good little device to use, especially if you don't have any other tools or you're meeting a lot of people all at the same time. It gives you something very quick and easy to do. So when I looked you up, I saw that you really do a lot of speaking and you have a lot of speaking topics. And one of them that really caught my attention because it was like, ooh, I want to know. It was the one that you called, "You got the opt-in, now what?" So now that you've got the opt-in, now what? And I know a lot of other people are like me, and they want to know, okay, what am I supposed to do with this now that I've got it? So can you expand on that a little bit?
Absolutely. So this is what I like to say is that, when you open up your inbox, every single thing people look at, one finger is on the delete button, right? And so I think that whenever you offer someone something, no matter how they get on there, whether it's something paid or something free, whatever the case may be, getting them on your email list to opt in is the easy part. Getting them to stay, however, is the hard part. And I call that having a stick strategy. What do you need to do so they stick around, right? And I think that having a plan for what you're going to do. So for me, one of those things are once somebody opts in, is to really let them know what can they expect to receive, because right away they're thinking, okay, I wanted that, but they're already thinking, oh yeah, the next thing I get from you, I'm going to unsubscribe if it isn't really juicy and good, right? Because how many times have you had somebody where you've opted into something and then the very next thing they send you is trying to sell you something, right? Which is a bad practice. So really the first thing I would do is to tell them, what can they expect from me and how often can they expect to receive it? So that way they know. The thing I do after that is I tell them, what are the benefits to being a part of my community? For me, some of those are that they will be the first people asked to be beta testers for some of the things that I do. And I actually give them exclusive content that nobody else gets. They get deep discounts that nobody else gets. So I give them reasons why they want to be on my list and what is the benefit to them. And I make sure that I nurture them, I engage with them, I serve them. And then most of all, I make sure I honor them by vetting them about twice a year. So twice a year, I send my list an email and basically say to them that I want to honor you by making sure that I'm only giving you information that you want. Choose the things below that you do want to receive information. And each one of those things that they click on the back end is actually a list, and they choose to go into that list. So I am only sending them consistent, relevant information that they want to receive.
It's interesting because I think I am on your list, and I remember doing that survey And I remember thinking, yeah, I like that. You've mentioned the word serve several times. So I noticed that's huge in your vocabulary. And I take it that's how you operate. It's in service to all of your clients and all of those people who are on your list. So I just wanted to recognize that.
Thank you. I think it's important to serve, not sell. Mm-hmm. So I believe, for me, that if you lead with contribution, compensation will always follow, but you always serve first.
Good. Now, you do a lot of amazing things. And right now I'm thinking about so many people, the way they're feeling, they're feeling like maybe a lot of pressure or they're in business and it's like, oh my God, I have to do this, and all of these different things. And you've actually created this marketing, media, and money biz quiz. Can you tell me how this quiz is going to help your potential clients or your clients?
Absolutely. So I am so proud of this quiz. And the reason why is it's an assessment. They can do it in 3 minutes or less. So very quickly. It has 7 key areas. But what I wanted it to do is I wanted it to be able to enable them to know where they're excelling. Like, where are they doing things very well? Where maybe they should make a few changes, and what are the next steps in order for them to take massive action to get massive results. So that was really important to me. And I wanted to make sure that I created a resource that if they never hired me, never contacted me ever again, that it would serve them. They would get something out of it rather than something where, oh yeah, that was really great that she did this, but now I have to hire her, right? Obviously I'm here to serve if I need to, or if they need me, but I wanted it to be something freestanding for them. So that's why this marketing, media, money assessment, I'm so proud of it. And really, honestly, to be able to go to that, can I mention it? Is it okay to mention? Okay, good. So they would just go to www.m3, that stands for Marketing, Media, Money. So m3bizquiz.com. And like I said, it's totally free. I have had so many people come back to me and say, you know what, Patty, you don't know what you don't know. And it has really helped them to be able to open their eyes and know what to do. And it also made them feel good when they saw where they were excelling, because sometimes when you're, like you said, you're frustrated and you're stuck, it's kind of nice to know what you're doing good too.
It is always good to know where you have some strengths, especially when you're feeling like, oh my goodness, I'm just on this treadmill, not going anywhere. And this year's probably been a little bit harder than others, but I think that having that quiz is, very, very useful. You're also the host of Marketing, Media, and Money podcast and magazine. Now, that's a lot of work. So can you tell me why you chose a magazine and a podcast?
Absolutely. Well, because I actually do marketing and media, it made perfect sense to have those assets for my clients and for the people I serve. So that's the first thing. But the other thing is I can't be everywhere. I can't help everyone. And so when people would come to me, a lot of times, you said it earlier about pick my brain, right? For me, I don't let anybody pick my brain, but I do let them rent it. And so for me, I needed someplace to send them. I needed a resource that when they asked me things and I couldn't go have coffee or I couldn't get on the phone with them, that I did have a resource that would serve them. So it was super important to me for the people who were receiving it. And it was important to me for the people that I could collaborate with, that I knew they were just experts and authorities, and how could I serve them as well. And this was a win-win-win for everyone.
I think that's exciting. And I think that now having a podcast and your shows are very in-depth, and they have a lot of really good, you have a lot of good guests, and you also ask a lot of really good questions. And of course, the magazine is just jam-packed with all kinds of information. So I wanted to ask, because you've done hundreds of interviews now, do you have any favorite topics in the magazine or in the podcast?
Well, it's not so much that I have a favorite topic per se, but my 3 favorite words are strategy, leverage, and monetize. And so things that have those make me happy. But I think that the biggest thing for me in both of them isn't so much the topic, but it is very, very important to me, which is why you're one of my columnists, right? It is very, very important to me that the people who come on my podcast and write for my magazine, that they are willing to share what is working now. We don't care what happened 5 years ago or 2 years ago. What we want to know is what are you doing that's working now that we can share to help people grow, build, and scale their business. So if they're not willing to do that, if they're willing, if they're thinking, oh no, I don't share, they're not for me. They need to be willing to share. And that is the most important thing to me for my magazine, my events, and my podcast.
Well, I think that is important, that people understand that sometimes you need to give, and you literally pique people's interest when you share some good information, especially about what is working now, because things change so rapidly in the media, the marketing, media, and money world. I mean, it's just amazing to me. So I wanted to ask you about, what are you working on now? I know, again, 2021 is coming up. What's exciting coming up for you?
Well, the thing is, I usually produce about 5 events a year, right? And I have a really big one that I do in New York City that I've done for the past 10 years. And so for right now, we're not able to do those, and we're pivoting a lot towards virtual events. And in my mind, I really thought about what is the way that I can serve. So some of the things that people can expect next year really is I'm going to be rolling out a second magazine and podcast. I'm super excited about that. I'm doing a marketing, media, and money mastermind specifically for podcasters, and one specifically for speakers. So I can serve both of them. So if they're making less than $50,000 a year, then this is something where we can help them to be able to monetize that. And I'm also going to be finally taking the time to finish my book.
Oh, congratulations. It's interesting because books are part of a solid foundation. And it's interesting because I was actually speaking with one of your clients earlier today, and we were talking about books and how a speaker could use them and use books to leverage and monetize as part of an overall strategy.
Exactly.
I thought that was funny that you brought up those 3 things. So we've been talking about speaking, social media, marketing, media, money. What do you think is the most important thing anyone can do right now, speaking of what's happening now, to grow their business?
Couple things. The first thing is to make sure they stay in their lane. I think it is really a temptation right now for people to just be all over the place thinking about, I just need to do so many more things. I think that confuses people. It distracts people. And to tell you the truth, I think it almost makes people wonder if you're not really making it at what you actually are an expert at. And it kind of can give them the wrong message. I think a better way is to honestly sit down and take inventory of what your strengths are. Focus on those strengths. I truly believe that you should work in your brilliance and hire other people to work in theirs. I think a lot of times right now, people are thinking they don't want to hire anyone. I think this is the time that you should be very strategic and say, these are my strengths, and then hire someone to say, these are my strengths. What else can I do where we are right now to market those strengths? And whether that is creating new products or services, changing up your pricing strategy, whatever the case may be, this is the time to hire someone who can help you if you can't do it on your own. If there's ever been a time, this is not the time to say, oh, I'm not going to hire anybody or spend any money. This is the time to be very strategic. If you're not a master marketer, hire somebody. If you're not good at media, hire somebody. If you need branding help, if you're not good at social media, find somebody who can help you. Know your strengths, know where you need help, and hire somebody to help you.
That's really good advice. And of course, everybody can go back and take your marketing, media, and money biz quiz. That'll help them kind of to get a head start on that. So when I wanted to ask you a little bit more about how you work with people. And if somebody's working with you, can you kind of tell me what that looks like? Maybe outline some of the steps that they might go through on that journey and what most of your clients' end goals are?
This is a great question. So I always start, I think what differentiates me is I always start with lifestyle, like we talked about earlier, right? Because I really believe that we need to design the lifestyle we want to live. We got into business for ourselves for that reason, right? For me, everything is about time freedom. So what is the lifestyle you want to live? So I always start with that because some people might want to take 10 vacations a year and somebody might want to just be able to every day get off at 3 and be able to go to their kids' soccer games, right? It's not the same for everybody. So the first thing for me is always, let's talk about the lifestyle that you want. Let's design that. And then I will help you to build a business that will support that lifestyle, not the other way around, right? So that's the beginning. The end goal is always obviously to make them profitable, but it's also to create transformation, not just for them, but for their clients as well. I'm not in the information business. Google's in the information business. I'm in the transformation business. So my end goal is always to help them transform their life and their business and those of their clients. But in between that beginning and the end goal, everybody has a different business. So there is no one size fits all. But one of the things that is very important to me is to really understand how do they want to serve and where are the gaps? Because I'm going to tell you, Tammy, I work with so many people who will come to me and they're doing this and they're doing that. And they have all these assets, right? They're writing for this magazine. They have a podcast, but they're telling me, Patty, I'm making like $40,000 a year and they can't figure out why. And they're working 60 hours a week. And the reason for that is because they don't know how to package themselves. They don't know how to package their services or their products. They don't use the right pricing strategy. And most importantly, they don't know how to position themselves into the marketplace correctly. And those are all the things that I like to work with them on. Let's figure out what that is for you. And then if I have to help you create those things, I will. Do we need a funnel for that? What is the media we need to use to get those out in the marketplace? Do we need to help you with your voice, how you're showing up? All of those things. It'll be different for everyone. But it always starts with lifestyle, and the end is always transformation for them and their clients.
That's interesting because I know in the lifestyle, your lifestyle, I saw the other day that you're talking about doing what I would call the on the road RV lifestyle adventure. You have any insight into that? How's that moving forward?
Well, I think a lot of people have heard me talk about the castle, right? They've heard me talk about the castle. When Las Vegas closed down, that's kind of on the back burner right now. It's still going to happen, but not in the original timeline because that's where we pivot, right? I was also in the middle of buying a villa in Italy for retreats. Same thing happened, right? So for me, this RV lifestyle is kind of a good way to be able to do it. But the reality really is that I just got done buying actually land in Oregon on the coast. That's actually to build a house. I probably will be where I'm retiring. In January, I'm going to South Carolina. I'm actually looking to do the same thing there. For me, what my ultimate goal is instead of being in one place when I retire, I'd rather have several places that I can use in my business. So when I want to be there, I'll be there. And when I'm not there and I'm at another one, I can actually rent them out for retreats and events. So all the places I'm picking are places by water or for whatever reason somebody would want to be there from a business point of view. So I'm always thinking of everything from a business point of view on how can I leverage even my retirement.
I love that. And I'm originally from Oregon. So I know that is a beautiful place. When I was a teenager, my mom used to go to take writing classes at Cannon Beach, where Haystack Rock is. And I used to go with her. And of course, she'd be in writing classes all day, and I'd be running around on the beach and everything on the Oregon coast. So that kind of triggered some memories for me when you said that you were buying land on the Oregon coast. But that sounds like a really good idea. And I think everyone should be thinking strategically like that from a business perspective, so that you have the lifestyle that you want, depending on whatever that is. But again, from a business perspective, you can incorporate that life into your business and, keep moving forward. So I want to wrap things up here, but wow, I think we've touched on some really phenomenal things for everyone listening. If somebody wants to reach out to you, Patty, what is the best way that they can do that?
So there's really two ways to taste me, so to speak. One is to just go to my website, pattyfarmer.com, Patty's with a Y, and literally they'll find everything there. The podcast, the magazine, all my social media, they'll find everything there. If they want to taste the magazine, though, it is no cost. It's a great resource, and then they can tap into and see what we're all about. And they can just do that by going to marketingmediamoney.com. No and, just marketingmediamoney.com, and they can actually grab that as well.
Wow, I like that. So marketingmediamoney.com, and they can get a free subscription to the magazine. How often does that magazine come out?
It comes out quarterly. The second magazine will also come out quarterly, but by the end of next year, my big goal is to move it onto an app. That's why right now everybody can have that lifetime subscription at no cost. And we just hit 100,000 subscribers and our 3-year anniversary. So that was super exciting. But we really are going to move towards an app next year. And I'm really excited about that.
Wow. 3-year anniversary and 100,000 subscribers. That's pretty phenomenal. So everyone, I highly suggest that you go back and listen to this conversation again, because Patty was literally giving you golden nuggets and a lot of strategy, along with super tactics and methods of creating that marketing and that media and, of course, money. So before I let you go, Patty, is there anything that you'd like to add?
I guess I would just want to say that if I was going to leave them with anything, really, you said earlier about me being a connector. I really feel right now it is so important to strive to be a people connector rather than being a business card collector.
I like that. And again, remember the OPP, other people's people. And again, I think the key word that you also said, Patty, was ask, who do you serve? And then, of course, be of service. So I really appreciate all the time you've taken with me today.
Thank you so much for having me. It was an absolute pleasure. And whenever you ask me something, the answer is always yes. Yes.
So everyone, this is Tammy Patzer. Go make it a beautiful day.
Thanks for listening to Business Innovators Radio. To hear all episodes featuring leading industry influencers and trendsetters, visit us online at businessinnovatorsradio.com today.